Just about 2 years ago, I decided that I was going to do the Oscars Death Race, which is when you watch all of the nominated films, both feature-length and short films, that are nominated for any Oscar that year before the ceremony. Now, is this absolutely a crazy idea? Yes. Is it a crazy idea for a college student? Even more so. It's an extraordinary time commitment, financial commitment, and overall it's just an insane thing to do. And that's why I did it 2 years ago. I actually ended up finishing on the day of the ceremony, which I have found out is not, uncommon. But I have decided that I am going to do it again, and I got very ahead of the curve this year, and oh boy. This was a phenomenal year to do the Oscars Death Race. I truly chose very, very well. Most of the biggest films are some of my favorite things I've seen in a long time. Hopefully this is coming out either the day before or the day of the Oscars ceremony. It's just before the Oscars ceremony. Let me introduce myself just for those of you who might not know me. Hi, my name is Rainer Oakes. I am an actor, I am a screenwriter, and I am a college student. So yes, not only will I be ranking these films from worst to best, every single one that is nominated for anything, I will also be revealing my personal pick for each award, and my prediction for what will win each award. With that being said, and without further ado, let's kick it off. I can't even put into words how upset I am that this got a Best Picture nomination. I started making this video really excited to talk about No Other Choice and how well edited that movie is, and I know that it wasn't going to get an editing nomination even though it should have, but man, it still stings that it didn't get editing and this did. It stings even more that it got no nominations, but yeah, half of me talking about F1 is actually just going to be me talking about No Other Choice, which is an infinitely better film. No, in all seriousness, I really did not like this film at all, and I don't even really want to go into it because I'm mad, I'm upset. Putting a good song underneath a scene doesn't make it a good scene. Brad Pitt is a parody of himself at this point. The dialogue sucks. And the editing isn't even that good. I don't think that there's a single thing about this film that I would say is Oscar worthy, even remotely. I don't even want to talk about this movie anymore. It's too upsetting. Do literally anything else with your time than watch this. It's so stupid. Girl, what are we even doing? That's it. Jurassic World Rebirth is the 7th installment in the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, whatever franchise. It stars Scarlett Johansson, Jonathan Bailey, and Mahershala Ali, among others. And this was my first real introduction into the franchise, which is really just mainly out of ignorance of I haven't seen Jurassic Park, like the original one. I know, I need to. I've heard that it's wonderful, I'm sure it is. But this movie, as I'm sure many fans of the original know and would point out to me, is not doing the franchise any favors. I mean, goddamn, the dialogue in this is just, it's so cliche and tacky, and pretty much everything in this movie is also. It's formulaic, paced badly, structurally all over the place. Most people are giving, like, nothing performances. Jonathan Bailey has some fun moments because he's Jonathan Bailey. And really the only good and engaging scene is the only scene in the middle with the main Jurassic Park theme, where Jonathan Bailey is like, oh my god, look at the dinosaurs, they're dinosaurs, yay, they're dinosaurs, guys. I don't know, I just found so much of this so annoying to have to sit through. That's really what I have to say about the film. I found it annoying. Viva Verdi is only nominated for original song, and this is a nomination that actually no one saw coming. Because who has heard of Viva Verdi? I had to go through so much to actually be able to see this, and it was really looking for a second like I wasn't going to be able to get my hands on it. But I finally did get to watch it, and all of the people that are the subjects of the documentary seem so sweet and wonderful. And so it makes me feel really bad to say this, but oh my lord, this was so boring. It was a really boring documentary, and I feel really bad saying that because they all seem really sweet, and it's really great that they get to have this retirement home for musicians where they get to keep rehearsing and practicing and working with people, even in their old age. I think that that's really, really sweet. It's just that the film is 1 hour 15 minutes, which is really short, and yet it felt so long to get through, which is when you know you have a pacing problem. And again, there were a lot of moments that were really endearing, but overall, this was boring. And I feel really bad saying that, but that's just my truth. And that's what I have to say about it. Diane Warren Relentless is a documentary that is nominated only for Diane Warren's original song because she has been nominated for original song every single year since 2017 and multiple years before that also. In fact, she is the most nominated woman to ever not win an Oscar. I think this is her 17th nomination, and clearly she is a very good songwriter. And I mean that as a songwriter myself. And there were parts of this documentary that let us into who she is as a person that felt slightly engaging. But a lot of this documentary is her throwing a pity party for herself for never having won an Oscar, which is crazy for someone like her who has the money that she has and the nominations she has. I mean, that's huge to be nominated that many times. Should she have won for the song she did with Lady Gaga in like 2015? Probably, yeah. Because now we're stuck with this nomination for a song that I actually find really bland and not engaging and not compelling, which sucks because Diane Warren is obviously a very, very talented songwriter and has a lot of good songs under her belt. Anyway, I locked in when she said that she was autistic and when her cat died. Those moments were cool and sad, respectively, but overall, the documentary is like really aimless. It's just kind of going nowhere. Avatar: Fire and Ash is the third installment in James Cameron's Avatar series, which I have, not seen. I watched the first half of the original Avatar a long time ago and don't really remember it, and did not get around to seeing the second Avatar movie, The Way of Water. So I went into this knowing that if there was anything that I was confused about, probably it was in another movie and I just had to, understand that. Even besides that, though, there's some really amateurish dialogue in here, which really surprised me, considering how big of a franchise this is, and how prolific James Cameron is as a director. And the plot is so overstuffed. Like, yeah, 3 hours is a long movie, but this movie is over 3 hours, and it still found a way to overstuff it. There were so many storylines I was worried wouldn't get resolved, and they did. But there are so many things happening and so many different characters and so many different dynamics spread across this that every resolution kind of wears itself thin. I really don't want it to sound like I hated this movie or even strongly disliked it. That's not accurate. There really is an inherent wonder to this world that they've built, and there's an inherent human intrigue to the stakes of the film. This is obviously going to win the Oscar for Best Visual Effects, and I truly do believe it should. I mean, the movie is gorgeous to look at. The action scenes are well done, they give us a very hateable, antagonizing force. The US military, and there are some really, really interesting dynamics between characters. It's just that the screenwriting and the structure are really clunky. And also some of these performances feel really melodramatic in a way that feels kind of emotionally manipulative and fake. Also, why is every single accent in this movie completely nondescript and like unspecific? There was one scene where Kiri sounded like she was from the Midwest, and that was only in one scene, and then and not in the rest of it at all. I don't know what's happening. I do want to give a shout out to Una Chaplin, though. She gives a really, really great and visceral performance in this. It's awesome. There's that one scene that's kind of vaguely sexual. Not vaguely sexual, it's sexual. And that scene is good. There are a lot of good scenes in this movie, which is why I feel kind of torn about it, but I also don't know how torn I would be about this movie if I didn't watch it in IMAX with, like, cool IMAX glasses. There's really wonderful style here, and there's some substance, but I just don't think there's enough. The Smashing Machine stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Mark Kerr, who I did not really know much about before seeing this movie. It was written, directed, produced, and edited by Benny Safdie, one of the Safdie brothers. I will talk more about the Safdie brothers later in this video. And it also stars Emily Blunt as Kerr's girlfriend, Dawn Staples. I saw this in theaters because I knew that it was going to get a nomination for hair and makeup, and figured that I should see it. And aside from some pretty good performances and some well-done moments, I didn't really care that much. And I do think that it deserves to be nominated for hair and makeup. I mean, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson looks completely different here. I just think I'm at a place where I really didn't care about it at all. And don't get me wrong, I didn't find it bad. This wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't a good movie to me either. One thing that was really surprising is how good Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is here. I certainly don't think that he should get a nomination or anything. It's just a pretty good performance, especially from an actor that I don't really consider to be that good, or an actor really at all. It's a surprisingly vulnerable and heartfelt performance from him. And Emily Blunt is also very good here. She is sometimes a little bit over the top, but they're both very good in this. It just wasn't enough to make me care about the movie. The Smashing Machine, to me, has all of the dramatic intrigue of someone kind of haphazardly telling you about the life of Mark Kerr. Like it's someone saying, "Oh, isn't that crazy? This happens, and then, oh, I forgot about this, but this also happens, and that happened in his life, too. Isn't that insane?" And you're kind of like, yeah, that's crazy. Like that's it. I had issues with the screenplay, not really in terms of dialogue. I thought the dialogue was pretty good, actually. I just thought that what it chose to focus on and what it chose to spend its time on was interesting, to say the least. I did enjoy half of it, I guess, but the other half I found pretty aimless and confusingly done. Overall, it's pretty mid. I don't really have much else to say about this one. Song Sung Blue is directed by Craig Brewer, and it stars Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson, the latter of whom is the sole nomination for this movie. As soon as I saw that Kate Hudson got the nomination over Chase Infinity, my first thought was, I'm gonna have to watch Song Sung Blue now, and that I didn't want to. And then I watched it, and it was kind of exactly what I thought it would be, but also better, but also worse. Let me explain. The screenplay is bad. The dialogue is so bad, specifically in the first half of the movie. I was rolling my eyes at nearly every single line of dialogue. I truly was not enjoying this at all in the first 45 minutes of the movie. And then something happened where I realized how much heart and genuineness the movie seemed to have. It seemed so earnest in its soul and genuine sense of wonder that I started to be won over by the movie a little bit. Now let me be clear, won over does not mean that I liked the movie, or even started to like the movie there. It means that I wanted to like the movie. But every single time that I started to like the movie gave me almost immediately a reason to not. And to say, yeah, this isn't great, but you know what? I enjoyed some of it, which is more than I can say about something like The Smashing Machine. So while The Smashing Machine is a better made film in virtually every way, I cared more about Song Sung Blue and wanted to like it more. Also, yeah, Kate Hudson is terrific. Should she have gotten the nomination over Chase Infinity? I don't think so. Should she have gotten the nomination over Amanda Seyfried? Definitely not. Definitely not. Anyway, I don't have much else to say. It was... whatever. If you couldn't tell already, I'm doing short reviews for the short films. This is a really important documentary short about a really important journalist, and truly rest in peace to Brent Renaud, but it's a shame that the documentary is fine. I feel very similarly about this that I feel about Armed Only with a Camera. It's a really important documentary, and I'm really glad that the Oscars are nominating things that are more free Palestine in its messaging, and something that literally calls it a genocide, because it is. And anyways, all this to say, it's an important documentary short. I just wish that the documentary itself was done better. Butcher's Stain is a well-made short, especially for a student short, and I guess I'm glad to see it here, but I don't think that it has as much to say about its subject matter as it thinks it does. Like, it's fine. It's a fine short, but nothing really to chew on. The Lost Bus stars Matthew McConaughey and America Ferrera and is nominated only for visual effects, which was a nomination that I didn't see coming, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't see coming. But I mean, the visual effects are really, really well done. The fire seems real, and trust me, there's a lot of fire. In fact, the visual effects seem so real that for a good amount of the movie, I was like, where are the visual effects? Which is kind of exactly what you want, I suppose. The quality of this movie is very much a roller coaster to me, because after maybe the slowest 45 to 50 minutes, my opinion drastically changed. I felt that this movie was a slog, and it was so painful to continue watching because of its pacing. But once the main action of the movie hits, it really starts finding its footing. And the middle of this film is quite good. I found myself actually caring about a lot of these characters, and on the edge of my seat, hoping to see them all get out of this. And I was surprised that there were a lot of emotional moments that actually paid off, because they were set up pretty well in the first act. Does that mean the first act was good? No, I actually really did not like the first act of this movie. Or the third act, for that matter. I think that the end of this movie is very emotionally manipulative and upsettingly dramatic. But that seems to be the vibe with Paul Greengrass and his based on a true story type movies. I'm not as familiar with his work, but as soon as I saw this movie, I looked up his filmography and I was like, oh, this is like all he does. Like, this is this guy's deal. So like, alright, I get it. But yeah, Act 2 of this movie really, really captures you and is genuinely very tense and thrilling as a watch. So yeah, I'm kind of split on this one, but overall, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I had a lot of issues with it also. The Girl Who Cried Pearls is an interesting short. The animation is good, certainly very impressive. I don't know if I completely loved the style all the time, but it is an interesting story that I genuinely did like. I thought the end was alright, though. Okay, this has the best cinematography in the documentary short category by far, and the score is so wonderful, but what is this a documentary of, exactly? It's donkeys. They go up to an astronomy tower that's abandoned, and then they look at the sky, and that's it. In what way is this a documentary? In what way is there even a point to this? What? Don't get me wrong, like, it's well made, but like, what are we even talking about? Whatever. Jane Austen's period drama is nominated for live action short, and I guess it is a short film, but really it's a 12-minute skit, and it's a very funny skit at that, and I'm glad to see the Oscars taking comedy seriously, but at the end of the day it is a skit. It's quite funny though, and clever. I found it very funny. This is a really sweet live-action short that sometimes is a little bit too talky for my tastes, where the dialogue feels so written, if that makes sense. But Miriam Margolyes is like literally a treasure, and this is very sweet and very cute. Mr. Nobody Against Putin is nominated for documentary feature, and at the time of recording this has very, very recently won the BAFTA for Best Documentary. So I wasn't originally predicting this. I still don't think I'm predicting this for the Oscar, but hey, we'll see. And I think it's a good documentary. I certainly think it's engaging. I actually think that the pacing is one of its strongest elements. Structure, not so much, but pacing was very good. And what I mean by that is that there was a point towards the end that I realized we were close to the end, and I was like, oh, well, that flew by, which is good, but I don't feel like anything happened. And like, that's not a huge complaint because I was never bored and I was like engaged. But I think that this is a very good documentary that has the potential to be great, but it never quite gets there. It certainly has a lot of potential. I just don't think that it uses all of it. And also, I do feel like it's weird that this got nominated as a documentary about a Russian teacher that is kind of going against the regime in little small ways, and 2,000 Meters to Andreevka, which is a film where a documentarian literally risked their life going into Ukraine and getting raw footage of the war, didn't get nominated. And obviously that's not to this film's fault. I just do think it's interesting. But anyways, yeah, it's good. I was certainly engaged. I just think that I wanted a little bit more from it. Cutting Through Rocks is an Iranian documentary that got nominated for documentary feature. It follows Sarah Shaverdi, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who is truly an excellent subject for a documentary. She is badass and doing a lot of really humanitarian and wonderful work, all while not caring about what other people think about her and living her life the way that she wants to live it. I thought that the beginning of this documentary was a little bit slow and not as engaging, but as it went on, it got really, really interesting. And about the last half hour is where it's really at its best. Issuing a spoiler warning right now. I think it's really crazy how the men in her town are so misogynistic that they actually request her to get a sex change operation to become a man so that it would be easier for her. I mean, I've heard of trans-exclusionary radical feminism, but never have I heard of trans-inclusionary radical misogyny. That's crazy. The way that they treat her and the way that this town is not ready for what she is trying to impose on them, which is a sense of progress and a sense of change, is just baffling. But yeah, apart from a slightly slow start, this was pretty good. Forever Green did make me cry. Yes, it did. I cried a lot at this, actually. And then I saw the Bible verse, like, tacked on to the end, and literally no hate on anyone's religion at all. But I felt that it cheapened the rest of the short film because it made it so specifically about religion instead of letting other people attach what they want it to be about. Does that make sense? Anyway, this is good. I'm underselling it. It made me cry. It was very good. Here's a documentary short that's really important. This is The Devil is Busy, and it centers around the workers at an abortion clinic in Georgia and how much they have to deal with from protesters outside of the clinic. And this actually has so much to say about the nuances of religion and how people use something so wonderful like religious beliefs to justify hatred or oppression, and how sad that is, but how that is also tied to people's trauma. Sometimes the filmmaking here isn't like mind-blowing, but it's a really solid documentary that's worth watching. Retirement Plan is good, and it made me think about getting old and kind of freaked me out a little bit, and well, I suppose that's a little bit the point. But it also made me think about life, and it was good. It's solid. It's a good animated short. Good job. I thought that this was really fun. It's a really, really solid and really well shot short film of a competition between some guys in a bar to see who can sing. It feels heartfelt, lightly funny, and just really cool stylistically. It's a little short and maybe not super deep, but I didn't need it to be. It was good. Kokuho is nominated for makeup and hair, and I actually think it could have been nominated for a couple more things. Because yes, this film is certainly not perfect, and is maybe about 30 minutes too long, but the parts about it that work really work. There are moments in this that are like really breathtaking cinematic moments. Like, I went into this seeing it in theaters having no idea what I was going into. I just knew that it was nominated for what it was nominated for. It was about kabuki theater, and it was 3 hours. And yeah, is it a little bit long? Yes. I also didn't feel that time, though. I think it's paced pretty well. Is the story sometimes a little bit difficult to follow? Yeah. Sometimes the performances dip into overwrought. Not ever too much where it really tweaked me, but enough for me to notice. Anyways, overall, yeah, I found that this movie definitely has a lot of flaws, and certainly I didn't overlook them, but the parts that are great in this movie are just like really spectacular. So it all balances out to a solid movie. And I had a really good time seeing this in theaters. Alright, I'm gonna get out of my, critic voice for this. Elio is so cute. I had such a good time. Yeah, is it, the most memorable Pixar film? No, but, Pixar has an insane standard at this point. It's a pretty simple story of a boy that really wants to be abducted by aliens because he doesn't feel like there is a place for him on planet Earth. And truly, there's so much of this movie that I really found deeply relatable and really wonderful. There are so many moments that are really, really powerful, and yes, I did cry a lot at the end. This theme of being alone is really, really well crafted throughout the film. Of us not being alone in the social sense, but also us not being alone in the, oh, there are aliens out there kind of sense. Did we get the Pixar, his parents are dead thing, in the first, 2 lines? Yeah, and that's crazy. Is there a tiny bit too much time focused on setup? A little bit. Is it the most memorable Pixar film? Not even remotely. But it's good. It's really good time, and it was really cute, and I cried. And the once-in-a-lifetime needle drop is, actually one of the best needle drops of the year, and quote me on that, actually. K-Pop Demon Hunters is a good movie. I very much enjoyed myself. It is almost the embodiment of an 8 out of 10 to me. The animation is really intriguing and vibrant, and to top that all off, the songs are really great. Golden is an earworm. It's a really, really well-written song, and a very difficult song to sing. I wouldn't even say that Golden is the best song in this movie, though. I'm personally partial to what it sounds like, and I also think that how it's done is a banger. But really, I don't have much to say other than that. It's a really, really solid animated feature film. I wish that it gave me a little bit more to chew on, or I wish that I had thought about it more often to return to it. I think that the story definitely picks up steam as it goes along. I certainly don't think it's a perfect movie. I don't think that the screenplay is always great, but it is solid. The movie never dips below pretty good. And the best part is there are really points in this movie that are quite moving. And while it may not be the most original movie I've ever seen, I think that it's very important and it's a solidly good time. Seurat is a Spanish film directed by Oliver Lasha that is nominated both for International Feature and Best Sound Design, and in a year that didn't include a certain other film, this would absolutely be my pick for sound design. Brace yourself, because I think that this might be my longest review. This is an incredibly violent film, and by violent, I don't mean in the way that you'd think at first. I mean that its artistic choices are so incredibly specific and shocking that they feel violent. When I came out of the theater, this movie was sitting with me in a really strange way, which is weird because for most of the film, I was highly engaged, highly entertained, and watching it with every single muscle and bone in my body. There are a couple of moments in this film where I really considered calling it a masterpiece and one of the best of the year. But when it ended, I had an, oh, that's it moment? And that's crazy for a movie that's 2 hours long, which does mean it's paced well, but I felt like we hadn't entirely gotten into the third act yet, which left me wanting wanting more. But the issue is that I feel like the film knows that, and that felt like a choice. But I don't know, the ending felt narratively unsatisfying to me, and I couldn't place why until a couple of days ago. My main issue with this film is a structure thing. 1. If the call to action is to find his daughter, then it's narratively unsatisfying because that's not resolved. We don't know whether he does or not by the end of the film. 2. If the call to action is to survive the desert and escape the minefield they eventually find themselves in alive, then the film does resolve with the answer, yes, he makes it out alive. But that is not a clear call to action at the beginning of the film, and the minefield isn't introduced until over halfway through. And number 3, if the call to action is to let his daughter go because we learn halfway through that the daughter is an adult and just left home to go somewhere else and not actually missing, as the posters that he's handing out say, and the call to action is for him to stop being so overbearing, then we do get that as a resolution at the end. But then his flaw is not clearly defined enough as being overbearing, which is a thing that could have been fixed if maybe the son, Esteban, didn't have the same end goal of finding her as he does. If they're trying to find her together, then it seems like the call to action, and if that is the call to action, then see number 1. Also, this is a huge spoiler for the film, but I need to talk about this film because I have a lot of thoughts about it. Seeing the son die, specifically, and when he does in the movie, is traumatizing. There are moments in this film that feel frankly traumatizing, which I don't even want to say is bad because it feels like what the film is going for. And you could argue that there is some semblance of hope at the end of all of this, but it doesn't follow through with that. The movie just ends, and I think that that's part of why it feels so violent as an ending. You do care about these characters. You want to see them live the hope. But if that happened, and that was the reality they got to live, it would almost cheapen the rest of the film, thus presenting me with a catch-22 and understanding of both why the film sits weird with me and why reviews I've seen for this movie have been so polarizing. I literally feel like I would understand a 10 out of 10 5-star review of this movie just as well as I would understand like a 1 out of 10 1-star review. I think that this is a movie that is so difficult to categorize, and it was the first movie that I really had to like marinate overnight what my score was going to be. But I'm giving it an 8 out of 10, especially because the cinematography, editing, and score, and especially the sound design, they're all astounding, and this film is crafted in an excitingly unique way. That title card that we get, I literally said almost out loud, hell yeah. For nearly every second of this film, I was completely engaged, excited, anxious, as this film wanted me to be. And there were some moving moments too. There were so many moments in this movie that I was moved to give this perfect 5 stars, 10 out of 10, towards the top 5 of my watched movies this year. But I think at its core, it has a very big issue with structure that I didn't realize it had until it ended. And also, I think that the characters could have been developed a little bit more, and there could have been contrast between these characters more. I think that that actually would have helped the structure even more. I think that at its core, this is like a 7 out of 10 film with so many 10 out of 10 moments that I have to give this an 8 out of 10, at least. It has to be at that, at least, at bare minimum. It's just upsetting. It's an upsetting film, and that is what it's going for. It's just so hard to get through sometimes. But yeah, a lot of people have a lot of different thoughts about this movie, and I really understand all of them. It feels epic, it feels larger than life, it feels like a masterpiece, but I just can't say that it is. And I have to be true to how I felt about this movie. And when I walked out of the theater, I felt almost nauseous. There's so much tragedy in this film, and I would have an easier time saying that it was a great movie that I didn't like if the characters weren't likable, but they are. In fact, the entire film hinges on these characters being selfless and likable. The whole goal is to help this father find his daughter. They don't have to do that, but they do. This entire odyssey and journey is because of selflessness. And then there's just tragedy after tragedy after tragedy, and these tragic moments come at times when the characters finally are given some sense of levity, or a moment of happiness, a moment of growth and healing. They're just hit with another thing, and you as the audience are also, because you're with them. I don't know, I'm not going to talk about this film forever. I feel like I could, even though I'm not even like that passionate about it in terms of like how much I liked it. But yeah, I'm just really curious as to what everybody else's thoughts on this film are, because I understand like pretty much all of them. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You is directed by Mary Bronstein and stars Rose Byrne, Conan O'Brien, and A$AP Rocky. Truly the most insane three people to be in a movie at the same time and have the three main roles. This is only nominated for Rose Byrne's performance, which is it's so phenomenal. Honestly, it really sucks that this movie came out in the same year as Hamnet, because if not for Hamnet, Rose Byrne would be winning things left and right, and she would deserve it. Because, oh my god, she's phenomenal in this movie. She's transformative. Her performance is so powerful. I think that there are some metaphors in this movie that really just seem like they're there to be artistic, which I didn't mind, but I don't completely understand everything that this movie is trying to say, and that's fine. I don't need to. It just felt like sometimes this was trying to be an A24 movie, if that makes sense. Truly though, this is like the top 3 most stressful movies of the year. The tension is so well crafted. This is literally Whiplash for moms who are also social workers. Or Black Swan, take your pick. This is not a perfect movie, but it is an important movie. Mary Bronstein is taking a lot of creative risks here, most of which really pay off. I got to see this in theaters and then at home with my parents, and both times I was really just on the edge of my seat the whole time. So yeah, it's not a perfect movie, but god, is it a good movie. Arco is a French film nominated for animated feature, and I got to see this in theaters, and the visuals did not disappoint. I mean, this looks like a Studio Ghibli film. Like, to the point where it's like, okay, we get the inspiration, do your own thing, actually, but who am I to complain? Will Ferrell, Andy Samberg, and Flea play 3 comically dumb brothers and or friends, not entirely clear. And they're all so funny because that's a crazy combination of 3 people. And yeah, I thought the way that this played with time and young love and the boy from outer space trope was really wonderful and really refreshing. In the moment, there seemed like some lines of dialogue that felt clunky, and then I realized that it was translated from French and it was the dub, which made things make more sense. So I'm not even really mad about that. Not a perfect movie, but definitely took me aback with how much imagination and wonder it had. I feel a lot of things about Zootopia 2. Zootopia as a movie was one of my favorite movies growing up, specifically because of how much I loved Judy and Nick as characters. Even in 5th grade, I felt so much about their dynamic and their relationship, and I couldn't articulate why in 5th grade, and I can articulate why now, but I'd like to not for the sake of this is on the internet. It's nothing weird, it's just personal. Nick Wilde in particular, I feel so many things about him as a character. But anyways, yeah, this is a worthy sequel to the original, which is really refreshing to see. I thought that the additions of Ke Huy Quan and Fortune Feimster and Andy Samberg were all wonderful to this world that they've created. And yeah, the world building is so intricate and fun and exciting. I see something like New Jersey spelled GNU Jersey, and I laugh out loud in the theater both times I saw it in theaters because it's so dumb, but it's really funny. Anyways, yeah, I think that it straddles a really good line of being political without being a direct allegory that has interesting, like, I don't know, implications like maybe the first movie does. And is it propaganda? Yeah, but it's a really good movie, and I just love Zootopia. It meant a lot to me as a kid, and so seeing a worthy sequel meant a lot to me. Did I cry at the Judy and Nick telling each other everything scene? Yes, a lot. You're gonna be hearing that a lot from here on out, that I cried. I'm a crier. Whatever, man. Butterfly is probably gonna win animated short, and it should. The animation is so intricate and beautiful, and it has a really important and wonderful story to tell that is both heartfelt and political and poetic and gorgeously and humanely animated. I thought this was great. I really, really love the world building. That's the thing that really brings me into it the most. The short film very much drops us in this universe, and it feels very lived in and real. And as many people have already pointed out, yes, it has some really cool Yorgos Lanthimos vibes to it. This is absolutely heartbreaking, and like every single politician should watch this. It's such a devastatingly effective way to contextualize the problem that America has with school shootings. I think that that's exactly the wording I would use for the entire short, is devastatingly effective. Definitely got teary-eyed watching this. The Ugly Stepsister is a Norwegian film nominated for makeup and hair, and is essentially a retelling of the classic Cinderella story from the perspective of one of the stepsisters, and it's also a body horror film. This movie is essentially The Substance if it was filmed like Poor Things, and is also the story of Cinderella. And because it's body horror, it is like, it's one of the most challenging watches of the year. And again, I do not mean that as a bad thing. That's very much what the whole body horror thing is going for. And not that much of it seems gratuitous. It's all there purposefully, or most of it is at least. I mean, some of the body horror things in this are just in the original fairy tale, i.e. her cutting off her toes, which I want to say is a spoiler, but it's like, it's in the original Cinderella fairy tale, and it's like, it's the poster for the movie. But yeah, in parts, this was like even harder to watch than some parts of The Substance. I think that just body horror is not my genre. It's not my thing, but it's good. And certainly it's shot well, the performances are good. Sometimes I'm like, okay, you're doing the body horror thing, yeah, maybe that's just me as a viewer, but like, yeah, anyways, oh boy, if you are squeamish, do not watch this, or any body horror movie. That's like the whole thing. It's good though, this is good. The Voice of Hindrajab is nominated for International Feature, and is another movie that I would also say is devastatingly effective. I think that in general, films that feel like they are happening or playing out in real time right in front of you always feel more alive. But yeah, I don't really know what to say about this film that this film doesn't already say itself. It's such a powerful call for humanity and for a free Palestine, while also being the devastatingly real tragic story of Hindrajab. And as someone that didn't actually know the story of what actually happened, I really felt the hope that they were going to be able to save her. And so it's tragic when they don't. It's a film that is as devastating as it is angering, as it is really moving in some parts. They do some really, really quick characterization that I think is pretty impressive. But anyways, while I don't know that it has the exact staying power or it factor that a lot of other movies have this year, I think that it is absolutely devastatingly effective and so incredibly important. Rest in peace to Hindrajab and free Palestine. Blue Moon is directed by Richard Linklater and stars Ethan Hawke, Margaret Qualley, and Andrew Scott, among others. And I thought that this was absolutely lovely. I think that it's so acutely and smartly written. I think that yes, the dialogue sometimes very much feels like a stage play, and a lot of this movie feels like a stage play, and I don't mean that as a bad thing, but I do think that this might have been even more successful as a stage play, and that it doesn't exactly use the medium of film specifically to its advantage all the time. But that feels nitpicky because that's not like a critique of the film itself. And that's about as long as I can talk about the film without mentioning Ethan Hawke's performance, which is actually ridiculous. It's phenomenal. Almost certainly my second favorite performance of the year. It's an absolutely wonderful and human and transformative and alive performance that truly does not feel like Ethan Hawke. This is another person. This is Lorenz Hart. And for someone as prolific as Ethan Hawke to pull that off at this stage in his career is, I think, like really impressive. I know he won't win the Oscar, but I'm kind of rooting for him to. Anyway, yeah, the film itself is really, really good. I very much enjoyed it. Marty Supreme is, you guys know what Marty Supreme, I don't need to like do that, whatever. Marty Supreme is a film directed by Josh Safdie, the other Safdie brother, and starring Timothy Chalamet, Gwyneth Paltrow, Tyler the Creator, Odessa Zion, and Kevin O'Leary for some weird reason, who's like a solid chunk of the reason why this film doesn't work for me as well as it worked for other people. We truly did not need to have Mr. Wonderful in this. I promise you we didn't need to have him in this. Anyway, yeah, the Safdie brothers had two different movies this year, and one of them was clearly better, and it was Marty Supreme. Now, why did the Safdie brothers break up? Well, we recently learned that, and it doesn't look good for Josh Safdie. And as much as I would like to say separate the art from the artist, I think that no matter how good this film is, and I'm going to sing its praises in just a second, just hear me out, I think that everything that is the problem with Josh Safdie is also a problem with this movie. It is, as my mother puts it, deeply a white man movie. And that's true, it is. It is a film very much about white privilege that doesn't actually have the courage to call out the white privilege that it's about. I promise you guys I liked this movie. Just give me a second. But yeah, I think that almost every female character is very underwritten, and the film really is about an entitled white boy that wants what he wants and gets what he wants, kind of, by screwing over nearly every person in his life, most of whom are not white men. I think that the screenplay is good, but it's not perfect, and it's because of those reasons that I just mentioned. Specifically in terms of some moments feeling like chaos for chaos's sake, when it could have used that time actually showing an interest in developing some of these characters. Okay, I just had to get that out of the way. Now on to the reason why it's like in my top 15. It's such a well-crafted movie. I love the direction, I love the 80s soundtrack, I love the score. Timothy Chalamet is very, very good in it. Do I think he's the best performance of the year? No, I don't. I think that last scene is like exceptional. It's transcendently good. But for the rest of the film, he's very good. And he's never bad, but he's very good. And I will leave it at that. You know who's the MVP of this movie is Odessa Zion. She should have gotten nominated. She's so good in this. Anyways, yeah, this movie has like two of the best needle drops of the year, which is obviously Everybody Wants to Rule the World at the end of the movie, but also one that I hear nobody talking about is the needle drop of The Order of Death, where Marty is walking back at night and then it's the this is what you want and this is what you get. This is what you want. Oh, it's so good. That's such a good moment. The bathtub falling through the floor. It's just crazy and shocking. This movie is stressful, it's anxiety-inducing, and there never is a dull moment. I love the editing of this movie. I feel like it just keeps going and going and going relentlessly in a way that really works and really matches with this theme of being relentless and narcissistic. But I already got those grievances out of the way. And I think that there's some really risky and creative and bold choices in this that I think are just awesome, i.e. the sound fading out as Wally and Marty are driving away from the gas station, the entire opening credit sequence, which is just insane, and the structure of this movie. I think the structure really works, even though it's completely unconventional in terms of how it just tricks you into thinking it's going to be a normal sports movie, and then once the bathtub falls through the floor, we've gotten into it. Anyways, yeah, I'll cap it there. There are a lot of people saying that this is a perfect movie and one of the best of the year, and I would stop short before saying either of those things. But I do think the film is very good, and I very much enjoyed myself, and I had a good time. Period. End of sentence. We're moving on. Train Dreams is directed by Clint Bentley and stars Joel Edgerton, Felicity Jones, and William H. Macy, among others. And with this movie, we really get into movies that I genuinely loved. I remember watching it and thinking that this was very, very good. And the more that I think about it, it becomes greater and greater in my mind, which is really good that it's living with me like that. But also, I don't think that it's like a masterpiece. But yeah, I think that this is a very like quiet and subtle and devastating film that's also also a very, very hopeful film towards the end of it. It's a film that prioritizes humanity and love, and it's a story about grief, but also about humanity. I think that the cinematography here is, like, astounding. I think a lot about that shot where the camera is attached to the tree as it falls. That's wonderful stuff. I mean, it's really, really great. I don't think that this will win cinematography, but I think it's my pick. Joel Edgerton gives a really, really great performance, and I would have loved to see him nominated. He's so good in this. And there's one scene that I think about a lot where it's him talking to this woman I think named Claire about grief and about loss. And it's such an expertly written scene and acted between him and Carrie Condon, who I literally didn't even recognize. And William H. Macy is also doing really, really lovely character work. And yeah, this is a film about life and what it means to be alive. And I feel about this movie the way that I feel about Nick Cave's nominated song for the same movie. It's heartbreaking, it's hopeful, it's solemn, it's a little bit sad. It's not perfect, it's not mind-blowing, but it's a portrait of this man's life, and it feels full and lived in. The Alabama Solution is a devastating piece of journalistic work. It is a hard-hitting and hard-to-watch documentary that is also so necessary to watch. Structurally, it just works like a punch to the gut. And at the end of the day, it is a documentary centered around good-naturedness and being a good human. And there are so many people in positions of power, especially in Alabama, that are not doing that. On a basic human level, they're not humane in the way they treat prisoners. The prison system in the United States completely needs to be reformed. And I don't want to get on my soapbox or anything, but this documentary is a call to action. And it's a call to action done in a way that is mind-blowing that they ever got this filmed, let alone released on HBO Max, let alone nominated for an Oscar. Watching this film, I think that that's pretty extraordinary. It's a documentary that fundamentally explores why documentaries exist in the first place. The Perfect Neighbor made me so viscerally angry, to the point where I literally almost can't talk about this movie without actually getting worked up. It is a documentary that feels very much like a thriller at times, in the way that it's edited and put together so expertly and artistically. It follows Aduke Owens, a mother looking out for her kids, and how as a family they were terrorized by Susan Lawrence, a white woman that lived across the street, until eventually it becomes fatal and Aduke Owens is killed in front of her children by Susan Lawrence. I literally cannot tell you how upset Susan Lawrence made me. I almost said the character of Susan Lawrence, and I think that that's because I want her to be fake. I want her to be fake so badly, but she's real. She's a real person that is now serving jail time, and thank God. This is a story of how white fragility and white privilege and white entitlement can quickly turn fatal for communities of color, and explores all of that in the lens of this one incident, which is the blueprint for any good and successful documentary. But this one really works. It got me teary-eyed, shaking, angry, and you would not believe how entitled this woman is. And racist, obviously. This is an incredibly important documentary. Please, please see this. I'm still so upset. Frankenstein is directed by Guillermo del Toro and stars Oscar Isaac, Jacob Elordi, Mia Goth, and a couple other people. And I'm gonna get this out of the way now. Jacob Elordi's performance is so astoundingly good that I cried multiple times watching him. His performance is one of my favorites of the year, and hearing a lot of people online who don't know anything about acting invalidating it because it's like, oh, it's like a performance under a lot of makeup, and whatever. You wish you could do what he's doing. He's doing such intricate work in this movie. Moving, speaking like the creature, without it ever feeling like he's putting it on or indicating. He embodies him so beautifully and gives him such heart, and in the process completely transforms. It is a metamorphosis of a performance. It is phenomenal. And one of the reasons it is up so high in my ranking, because the second half of this movie he completely carries. And while I thought that the first half of this film was very good, I couldn't have put this film as high as it is if I didn't enjoy, like, pretty much the whole thing. And I did. I found the first half of this film very good. I very much enjoyed it. I thought the creation scene was so sick and awesome, and I just kept saying, hell yeah, over and over again. It's so awesome. The production design is so cool. Lighting, sound, cinematography, all of it. The set feels beautifully unfinished, like the creature himself. And yes, it feels fake and created, like the creature himself. It puts us there, and yes, the film takes a lot of creative liberties. But man, it's a good movie. I love the dynamic between Victor and the creature, and I hate Victor so viscerally. I hate Victor Frankenstein. I remember not liking him when I read the book, but oh my god, I hate him. And the way that this movie tells this story of parenting really drives home this theme of generational trauma, of how Victor Frankenstein had a horrible father, and now he's being a horrible father. Which leads me into the second half of this film, which I think is one of the most astounding things I've seen all year. The filmmaking is gorgeous, and truly I get emotional every single time Jacob Elordi is on screen. He recontextualizes the creature for me in a way that I just have never seen before and would be lucky to see again. The fact that Andrew Garfield was originally supposed to be the creature and Jacob Elordi is the replacement, I mean, that just baffles me. I don't think anybody that I know working in Hollywood could do exactly the performance that Jacob Elordi is giving right here. He was meant for this, which is crazy because I wouldn't even think to put him in this. But wow, it's a tour de force. And it's not even the best performance of the year, but we'll get to that. Anyways, yeah, if the first half was as good as the second half, this would be like a 10 out of 10 for me. But alas, we have one 8 out of 10 half and one 10 out of 10 half, and so it is a 9. Overall, loved this movie, made me very emotional, highly recommend. Weapons is a horror film written and directed by Zach Cregger, director of Barbarian and other things. I haven't really seen his work. I'm just now starting to come around to really loving horror movies. For most of my life, I really didn't. This film stars Julia Garner, Josh Brolin, and of course, Amy Madigan, who is the sole nomination for this movie. And let me just say, I literally absolutely am in love with her performance in this. I think it's risky, daring, bold, unique, and it really stays with you despite only having 13 minutes of screen time, which is crazy and almost really difficult to believe because she does so much with it. But yeah, oh my god, I love the mystery of this story. From a storytelling standpoint, I think that this is just phenomenal. I think that this film never showing its hand until the very end is such a smart way to tell this specific story, because the entire appeal of watching this film is trying to figure it out. And yes, it takes you a while to actually be able to piece it together. The film has you right in the palm of its hand the entire time, which is really, really effective. I think the screenplay is awesome. I think these characters are really cool and feel very lived in. There are so many really exciting moments, just cinematically. And yeah, overall, I think that this is a really risky film that uses the medium of film so to its advantage. And yeah, I love the multiple perspectives between the characters. I love this feeling of getting pieces of the story at a time in a kind of non-linear way. I love this mystique around Gladys. I think that's awesome. And yeah, I just think that this film is awesome. The Secret Agent is a Brazilian film directed by Kleber Mendonça Filho and starring Wagner Moura, among others. And overall, I found this so entertaining. I think that this film really, really builds tension in a great way. And I think that it takes some really bold and creative risks, notably the leg scene. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about, the leg. And yeah, while some left field creative risks such as that might have taken me out a little bit in the moment, it was committed to so fully that I really didn't mind it at all. And I really just loved this unfolding mystery. As an American, I don't know much about Brazil in 1977, but as a viewer, I see a time of great mischief and what is happening to this guy and how the police are treating him, and that that's all I need to see. The information that I did not have and I didn't know never felt vague, it felt mysterious, which is a good sign for this film. And I think that Wagner Moura is really a standout here. I think he's such a commanding and magnetic presence on screen. And of course, the "I'd kill him with a hammer" moment is like really some of the best acting all year. I love that moment so much. But yeah, overall, I loved that this film just went all in. It felt like a very maximalist and exciting film that used score and soundtrack to its advantage in order to build tension. I thought that the soundtrack was like awesome and like ruled. I love this overwhelming sense of like community that the older woman, I forgot what her name is, but that the older woman like builds with all of these refugees that are being essentially targeted by this fascist regime that, again, we don't know much about, but we know that they're trying to kill him. So the stakes are here. And me personally, as a movie viewer, I don't need to know more. I think that there are some parts that might have dragged on like a little bit long, but overall, I thought that this was really awesome. And I was highly engaged and just like really entertained. It Was Just an Accident is an Iranian film directed by Jafar Panahi, and wow, I loved this. This is the section of the video where I'm just gonna like rave about movies. I think that it has so much to say about what justice is, and when justice goes too far where you're just perpetuating the same trauma that you were dealt. That is, I think, the question at the heart of this movie. These people are traumatized because they had been tortured by this man, and so to get an apology, they torture him. And that's the thing about confessions via torture, is you can't entirely trust them. That's why torturing someone into a confession doesn't work, because how do you know that what they're saying or what they're confessing to is not just to make the torture stop? They're putting themselves in the exact same position as the man who tortured them and they are torturing right now. And it's all out of their hurt, their justified hurt. So it makes sense and you're with them, but it does highlight this cycle, this vicious cycle of trauma, and I think that that's what this film does really, really well. I think the screenplay is really great, the direction is really great, it's hard to take your eyes away from this, and I think that specifically the ending is so powerful. I mean, the whole ending scene where they like actually tie him to the tree and kind of force a confession out of him, it's just one shot pretty much the whole time, and still it is never boring. It is so hard to look away from, even though it's also so hard to watch. And then the last shot of hearing the sound that traumatized this man so much already, over and over and over again, is this kind of symbol that no matter what, it's never going away. Even if he is still out here and he's actually come back in reality, or it's just a thing that he's hearing, either way, it's never going away. And I just think that that's a really, really wonderful and powerful ending. And yeah, I thought this was great. Begonia is a film directed by Yorgos Lanthimos starring Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, and Aidan Delbus, among other people. The first time I saw this, I really loved it, but it didn't stand out to me as much as something like Poor Things did in terms of Yorgos films, and this still doesn't give me the same feeling that Poor Things does, because Poor Things is one of my favorite films of all time, but the more I think about this film and the more I watch it, the more I think it's so fun and has so much to say. I think that its screenplay is like so good. It's like a ridiculously good screenplay. I think that that dinner table scene is just masterfully written. And yeah, Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons are like giving career-defining performances. I think it's a career best for Jesse Plemons. For Emma Stone, it's just a really high bar to clear, especially with her performance in Poor Things. But she's also so good in this. And the conceit of the film really hinges on her performance being good, because if you are convinced either way that she is or isn't an alien the entire time, some part of the film will not work for you. Something about the way that she is so uncannily human that it almost feels alien-like, but there's also human beings that are just like that. It makes for a really entertaining ride. And Jesse Plemons, the Jesse Plemons snub has been talked about at length by many people, but yeah, I'm upset about it too. I think he should have been nominated. I think he should be here. He's so good. I think that he actually outacts Emma Stone, which is a really hard thing to do. Yeah, he gives like a ridiculously good performance in this. It's so good. And if he was nominated, I think he would be my second pick behind Ethan Hawke. He's like much better than Timothée Chalamet, but whatever. And yeah, I love the score here. I love the cinematography. I love the way that this is edited. I remember coming out of the theater the first time and not knowing if the ending completely worked for me because it just caught me so off guard. And then watching it a second time, it completely worked for me in a way that really made me bump up my original ranking. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this, and I think it's really cool and really awesome, and you guys should check it out. Come See Me in the Good Light literally destroyed me. This movie absolutely floored me. This is a documentary about legendary poet Andrea Gibson and their struggle with cancer. Rest in peace to Andrea Gibson. But yeah, I literally cannot believe that Andrea Gibson is gone. There's such a legendary poet to me and to so many people. And I think that this documentary is so tender, so moving, so well crafted. And I didn't actually cry until the very end. And once I started, I literally just did not stop. A little info about me: I'm a poet and both my parents are poets, so I grew up in a very big poetry household, or just a writing household in general. And so yeah, I just think about that line, anyone who thinks poetry is frivolous has never had to tell someone something unspeakably hard beautifully. It's like a perfect poem. And yeah, anyways, I think that this is gorgeously shot. I think that there are so many natural metaphors that just come up naturally. Yeah, and I just think that it's gorgeous, and it has so much to say about life and why we live life and what it means to die and what it means to live and what it means to love. It was just gorgeous and so moving. And Andrea Gibson is just such a good poet. And yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I found this really gorgeous. Sentimental Value is a Norwegian film directed by Joachim Trier. It stars Renate Reinsve, Stellan Skarsgård, Inga Ibsdottir Lilius, and Elle Fanning, all of whom are nominated for their performances. And yeah, this boasts some of my favorite performances of the year. I think that this is stunningly acted from everybody involved. Elle Fanning is very good, but I do think she's outacted by the three other main people in this film. It has so much to say about complicated family dynamics, of family history specifically, and not just generational trauma in terms of parenting, but also the beauty in family history with their house being a main character of the film. I thought that that was really, really poetic and wonderful. And yeah, I just think that this is such a tightly crafted film. The writing is flawless. Stellan is giving a career best performance here. He's so good. Renate Reinsve and Inga Ibsdottir Lilius are just so good also. They're doing so much wonderful work. That scene where they hug and cry after Nora and Agnes both read their father's screenplay. It's so moving. It's so touching. There's so much about this film that is just so masterfully created. And yeah, I think that this film is both sprawling and intimate, cathartic and delicate, simple and intricate, poetic and straightforward, profoundly devastating and joyously light. Nearly everything about this is just absolutely stunning. I think that it's a really, really wonderful and thoughtful film, and I think that it plays with these dynamics in such a gorgeously heartbreaking and human way. I think that's what's so wonderful about this film. A lot of the acting is very subtle in the way that Scandinavian films typically are, and we joke about this, and SNL has a couple of skits about it, and whatever. But I think what it does so well is it makes the film feel so human, which I just really, really appreciated and thought was wonderful to watch. Little Amelie, or the character of Rain, is nominated for animated feature, and it is far and away my pick. I don't know how more people aren't talking about this film. It's so intricately written for an animated feature, and I literally think this could have been a 10 out of 10 perfect film for me if it was 10 minutes longer. It discusses being 3 years old in a way that I have actually never seen before. It's entirely and wonderfully unique, where she is narrating her life to us as if she is God, discussing herself in the third person person and making new discoveries in real time and giving this toddler all of the narrative agency of an adult, while still making it completely appropriate and understandable that this is a 3-year-old child. Everything about this film not only makes sense, not only is done in a completely and entirely unique way, not only is animated gorgeously, but is so profoundly emotionally impactful. This film literally floored me in a way that no other animated film even came close to. There is an inherent magic to this world, the world of a 3-year-old child. And there's a lot of talk in this film about being in between. It's this Belgian family living in Japan, and her saying, "I'm Japanese," because she was born here and has no ties to Belgium at all. Underneath the entire film, they make almost a statement about adulthood and being a toddler in the same way. She feels as if she has no actual ties to being a toddler. Like she is an adult. Like she is God towards the beginning of the film. I thought that the screenwriting on this was just like magical and transcendent, and some of the most brilliant writing I've heard for an animated feature in a long time. Yeah, this one really moved me, really floored me. I loved it and highly, highly, highly recommend it. One battle after another is this film by this, underground to indie filmmaker named Paul Thomas Anderson. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Teyana Taylor, Chase Infinity, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, and many more. I've been a long time Paul Thomas Anderson fan. For those of you who don't know, Magnolia, which is his 1999 epic, is my favorite film of all time. Magnolia holds such a special, special place in my heart. So hearing that Paul Thomas Anderson had another film, I was so excited. And I saw this in a big IMAX theater with a bunch of other people on opening day, and man, it did not disappoint. Paul Thomas Anderson is such a master of pacing at this point. His films are paced so incredibly well that he has multiple films now that are either over 3 hours or just nearing 3 hours that all feel like a crisp 90 minutes. I mean, this film just goes and goes and goes relentlessly in a way that I think is even more successful than some films that I've already previously mentioned that do the same thing. I think the editing of this film is so astounding, and I think that so many performances in this are also so great. I think this is my favorite Leo performance. He's so funny. He's having so much fun with it. He's just so dropped in, and I love his dynamic with Chase Infinity, who is also giving a great performance here, and again, would have loved to see her here instead of Kate Hudson, but I digress. And yeah, I think that this is a really, really exciting roller coaster ride that has so many ups and downs, much like that car chase scene at the end of the film, which is truly iconic at this point. I think that it's like one of the best scenes of the year, and one of the most inventive and awesome chase sequences I've ever seen in my life. This may be my favorite action movie I've ever seen, which is not saying much because I truly haven't seen that many action movies, but I think that this one has so much heart and all of the humanity that a PTA film has, and all of the calls for a revolution that I would really love to see in the United States' political climate at this point. And I think it's just awesome, and it all comes together really, really, really well. A lot of people are talking about the character of Perfidia Beverly Hills and whether or not she's a caricature, and I think that there's some credence to that. This is literally the only reason why this film isn't a 10 out of 10 film for me. That, and I think that Sean Penn is very good, but you guys are gonna kill me. Sometimes I think that he's working a little bit too hard. It doesn't feel like an effortless performance. It feels like a very effortful performance. All this to say, he's really great. I just don't think he needs a third Oscar. Especially not for this. I think he's very good, but this is not the best performance of his career. That's just a really high bar for him to clear. He's a really brilliant actor. But anyways, what I was saying about Perfidia Beverly Hills, I think that if not for that, this would be like a 10 out of 10 perfect movie. Because, oh my god, everything about this film is so exciting and in your face and awesome, and I think that the way that it is actually put together in terms of the craft of filmmaking is astounding and near perfect. I really want to rewatch this sometime soon. I gotta rewatch it. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. It would be a deserving winner for Best Picture. We're gonna get to it. We'll get to it. Anyways, yeah, this is so sick. Go watch it if you haven't. If you haven't watched this, like, actually, what are you doing? It's so good. Hamnet is a film directed by Chloe Zhao and starring Jessie Buckley, Paul Mescal, Jacoby Jupe, and others. And yeah, this devastated me. I cried so much both times that I saw this. It's such a wonderful and heartbreaking story about grief and loss and art and just like everything that makes life worth living, and so wonderful and heartbreaking and gorgeous. It's all in this film. And God damn it, Jessie Buckley gives literally the performance of the year, and it's not just the performance of the year, I'm gonna say that it's the performance of the decade thus far. It is one of the best performances of all time in a movie ever. I'm not exaggerating, you have to bear with me here. If you haven't seen the full movie and you've seen a scene that she's in where she's really great, first of all, you're underrating it. It's actually brilliant and perfect. And second of all, she's that good in the whole thing. So many Oscar performances are like really great, and then there's that one scene where it's like, oh my god, that's brilliant. She's that brilliant in literally the whole movie. You could take any 2 seconds of her performance at all, ever, in the whole thing, and you could use it to teach an acting class. This is mastery of the craft. Her performance is exactly what, as an actor, you are looking for in a performance. It is, and I do not say this lightly, a perfect performance. And it truly uplifts the whole movie. The screenplay is so good. The cinematography is gorgeous. How did this not get a cinematography nom? What? Are we serious? Every frame looks like a painting, and I really mean that, like an actual painting. Paul Mescal was also snubbed. He's so good. He's so good. You know who I also think was snubbed for supporting actor? I'm gonna say it, Jacoby Jupe. Where did they find this kid? He plays Hamnet, by the way. He's the titular Hamnet. He's so good. Like, devastatingly good. And the casting choice to cast his older brother, who is also in Wonder, as Hamlet in the play oh my god. Like, a brilliant casting choice. It's a brilliant casting decision. I love that you don't know that it's William Shakespeare until, like, the last 20 minutes of the movie. Like, I knew that going in. I knew that he was William Shakespeare, but it's not about Shakespeare. It's not about the making of Hamlet. Anyone who's like, oh, it's the creation story of Hamlet, that's such an oversimplification of what this movie is, and truly does not do justice to what makes this movie so special. These are two humans. This is a mother and a father named Agnes and Will, and they lose their 11-year-old son to the plague. It is such a heartbreaking exploration of grief, of loss, of continuing to go forward even though you've lost so much. The end sequence alone is just, it's masterful. The second time I watched this, my best friend came into the room 5 minutes before the film ended, and by the time the credits were rolling, they were crying. That's literally how powerful this movie is. That's literally how powerful Jessie Buckley's performance is. The moment where she reaches out her hand to Hamlet, I can't even talk about this. I'm gonna cry. It's perfect. It's a perfect movie. It devastated me. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely perfect. I have no other words. It's insane. It's gorgeous. Here, by the way, is where I would have put No Other Choice if it was nominated for anything, but it's not, which sucks. This was gonna be my second favorite movie of the year, but alas, here we are. Anyway, this is the moment you've all been waiting for, and if you've been following me or you know me actually in person, this is no surprise. You knew that this was coming, but my number one is... Sinners is directed by Ryan Coogler and stars Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, Wunmi Mosaku, Delroy Lindo. I'm so excited to talk about this movie. And Miles Caton, sorry. Like, so many good performances here. Wow. I'm so excited to talk about this movie. It's in my top 10 movies of all time. I was lucky enough to see this in IMAX when it came out, and I've since seen it in theaters 2 other times and at home by myself like 3 or 4 other times. And truly, I'm just such a huge fan
fan of everything this movie is and everything it has to say. You can hear how excited I am, right? You can hear how much I'm smiling right now. I love this movie so much with my entire heart, and I think it deserves everything. If you haven't seen Sinners, what are you doing? You're wasting your time watching my video. Go watch Sinners. Watch Sinners. But if you haven't seen it, it is about two twins and their cousin setting up a juke joint in order to laugh and sing and dance and have a good time and have a place of community in the Jim Crow era South. And then they are attacked by vampires, the leader of whom is Remick, who is Irish, and I have so many things to say about the fact that he's Irish. I think that that's a brilliant choice. Yeah, I think that this is one of the most exciting screenplays and just exciting movies that I've seen in my entire life. Everything about it is so original. It's so original. I think that categorizing this movie is dumb. I think that putting it into a specific genre or specific label or like the title of a vampire movie or a thriller or a musical or whatever you will, I think that does an injustice to what this film actually is and what it's trying to do. Because if you've watched the movie, you know that scene in the middle of the film, which is like maybe my favorite scene ever, maybe? I think it's one of the most unique and gorgeous and brilliant and like actually powerful, and I don't have the words to describe that scene and how good it is, but you have to try. It's so phenomenal. Anyways, if you've seen the movie and you've seen that scene, you know that that scene is all about how all different genres of music are inherently linked, inherently tied together, and are generally born out of suffering and imprisonment and enslavement, and that is why they are joyous, and that is why they are powerful, and why they move us so much, and why they tell stories that move us so much. So to categorize this movie as a specific kind of movie does a grave injustice to what the film is actually trying to do in the first place. All of life, all that is created and has been created for our enjoyment as human beings, music, movies, food, sex, all of it is inherently linked and cannot be ripped apart or separated or categorized. So I take issue with categorizing this movie, and I think that that's what really works about the film, what is so effective about this film, as well as so many other things. I'll get to the vampires now. Ryan Coogler could have done the easy and less interesting choice, which is to make the vampires clan members, or just plain and blatantly racist. Remick, as a character, however, is arguably racist, but he's racist in an I don't see color way, or a can we all just get along way, or can't we all be family for just one night, as he says. This movie is about cultural vampirism. He wants Sammy's powers to be able to see his own people who were also oppressed, which is what is so genius about the fact that he's Irish. His music is also music that is born out of oppression and enslavement, and that's what makes this film so much more complicated and interesting to chew on. That being said, it is also so satisfying when Michael B. Jordan shoots all of the clan members at the end. That's awesome. That's so sick. Now we're on the subject, let's talk about performances. Because I could talk about this movie for hours and hours and hours and hours. Michael B. Jordan's performance is a technical marvel. It is so hard to do what he is doing, separating these two characters so clearly and efficiently. And yeah, I just think that it's such a good performance. And the more I watch Delroy Lindo, the more I'm like, I really would love it if he took home supporting actor. I think that would be so cool. That scene where he's in the car and he's recounting the story of his friend Rice, and then he starts singing, I mean, God, it's a perfectly acted scene. It's so good. Wunmi Mosaku and Haley Steinfeld are also so good, especially Wunmi Mosaku. She's so good. She's maybe my favorite performance in this movie. And the music in this movie, oh my God. First of all, the first time I ever watched this movie, I was like, if this doesn't win score, I'm gonna, riot. And I'm glad that it's going to, because it is like the most perfect score I've maybe ever seen. It's like actually a perfect score. It's maybe my favorite score of any movie. You guys might think I'm overrating this or I'm exaggerating. I'm not. Every single thing that I'm saying is not hyperbolic. I actually believe this entirely and completely with my full heart and chest. I lied to you. I want it to win original song so bad. Golden is great. Golden is an earworm. Golden is very catchy. I Lied to You is so intricate, and the way that it like crosses every musical genre within it, and the way that it plays into the scene that it's a part of. I mean, that whole I Lied to You sequence is so good. And I Lied to You isn't even my favorite song from this movie. That goes to Pale Pale Moon, which is just a song I listen to like daily. It's awesome. Rocky Road to Dublin is not original for this movie, but wow, is it good. The whole Rocky Road to Dublin sequence is so cool. I could nerd out about this movie so long and for so much time, but I will spare you all. I hope that I have already got my passion across for this. I could talk about what it has to say about Hoodoo and what I could talk about this movie for literally days on end, but I won't. But just putting it out there that the fact that I can talk about this movie for as long as I can means there is so much to analyze, so many things to look at and appreciate and nerd out about, and just everything. And that is why it is my number one pick for not only movie of the year, but one of my favorite movies of all time. And that's gonna wrap it up. I appreciate you all sticking around for this long video. I won't take up that much more of your time. I'm gonna end this with a little bit of a shameless plug. Sorry if that leaves a bad taste in your mouth. My name is Rainer Oaks. I release a lot of music on streaming services and am also a screenwriter, actor, musician, etc, etc, etc. You can look for my music on all streaming services under just my name, Rainer Oaks, and even on this YouTube channel. I have a bunch of music videos. Go check them out. I'm really proud of them. Alright, that's gonna wrap it up. I will see you at the Oscars, and comment down below your thoughts and your opinions about my opinions or just about the films in general, and I hope you have a wonderful day and happy Oscars season. I'll see you next year.